What's up, everybody? It's your boy Tino here, back after not being here last night for AEW Dynamite. We were here live yesterday twice, but just not for Dynamite. I hope you guys did enjoy AEW Dynamite, and we will definitely be talking more about that tonight while we play Madden, tomorrow while we're live for SmackDown, and the Wrestle Dream preview show. So we'll catch up on all of that. But today, guys, you guys know it's Thursday, 5 o'clock. Same time, same place. We've been here for the last 28 weeks. And it's done. It's over. We only got 3 more games left of the MLB season. At least if you're a White Sox fan, it hasn't been a very good season. They are 60-98. They're on the verge of losing 100 games. They have one more chance and opportunity to win 2 out of 3 against the Padres to see if they can do that. But this isn't how we expected the season to go. This is not how we wanted it to go. Sitting here in spring training, we all thought we'd be sitting here in September hoping for playoff chances. But that's not what happened. So we're here today, guys. We got a couple guests. We're going to talk about the season. We're going to talk about what we think is going to happen in the offseason. We're going to be talking just about a bunch of things. We will still be here. I'll still be here for you with the playoffs. We're going to try to get Justin and Deech on a few episodes, just depending on how it works out and when the playoff schedule actually starts. So we will still be here for the playoffs. So it's not the last baseball show, but this is the last SouthSide Boys episode until next spring training, when hopefully 2024 is a better season for the White Sox. So let's not waste any more time, and let's get Justin and Deech in here, and let's see how they're feeling as we winding down to the baseball season. Deech, how you feeling today?
They won a game, and apparently everyone just bought $1 tickets to just not show up. I didn't get most of the game, but when I did watch, it was like the whole lower level should be full, and it's
you would think, right?
Well, they said they sold out of all the $1 tickets they were selling, which was the whole lower level, where it's just a very odd scenario.
It is. It's very odd. So we also got Justin. What's up, Justin?
What's going on, boys? How we doing?
How we doing?
You know,
okay. It's almost over. That's all I keep saying is that this we got 3 games left. We don't have to worry about it no more. Football's on tonight, so that's good still. We got the Fudge Packers and the Detroit Lions. So if anybody's got any fantasy players or anybody out there. But
Amin-Ra.
You got what? You got who?
Amin-Ra.
So do I. I got him on. I'm debating. Maybe you could help me. I got a debate between Burrow and Goff. Do I trust Burrow this week versus the Titans, that awful defense? Or do I go Goff tonight versus the Packers that have not given up more than anything this year?
You're asking the wrong guy, because I'm a whore for primetime guys. If dudes are playing in standalone games, I know I'm gonna watch. I'm always gonna be inclined to to play them. So I don't know. And so if I'm you, I'm playing Jared Goff, but the better matchup is definitely Joey B.
I know
they're gonna figure it out. I'll continue.
I hope so.
You know they don't.
Oh man, I hope so, because it just has not looked very good at all. But we'll talk more about fantasy football. This is a fantasy football show. I don't know. At this time, I'm just like so checked out of baseball, especially this year. It just has not been fun at all. So, which, as Deech said, we won a game. So we did win one versus the D-backs. I didn't expect us to win any. And I was just telling Deech before you came on, Justin, watching these NL teams play sometimes is just like, they are just so good. Like Corbin Carroll, watching him play baseball for 3 days is just like, it's just insane. So how are you feeling about everything? I know you really haven't been watching any of the games, but do you just feel less stressful now? You don't got, I know you, like I said, you haven't been watching, but is it, you just happy the season's over now? Almost?
Yeah, I mean, I'll be happy to not be getting notifications about the game starting and all the runs the other team's scoring, and seeing the Sox get notifications the Sox are bringing in guys I've never heard of into these games. Did I see correctly that Tyler Naquin played the other day for the White Sox?
Yes.
I mean,
yes,
that was unbelievable. That is so fucked. That is. I don't know if there's a more sign of we have no organizational depth than the fact that it's September, and when you're supposed to be getting young guys at bats and seeing what you have with dudes, they're playing Trace Thompson and Tyler Naquin.
Oh, if I have to watch Trace Thompson play a baseball game ever again, listen.
Years and years of evidence these guys aren't major league hitters.
Oh, they're just so bad. They're just like, it's just like, I feel like I could hit the ball, or like we could hit the ball better than them sometimes. And it's just like, I get it, like whatever, but like, going out there and watching these guys play is just like, and that was the thing, like seeing the lineup the last few days, like it isn't even wanting me to turn on the game. Like I just like I guess I always have it on when I'm live, but it's just like, it's disturbing to watch what we're putting out there. in the last week of the season. So, yeah, I don't know. But there's really, I mean, I don't even know. I mean, like I said, there's really not too much to say besides we got to see where this offseason goes and sees what happens and where it goes. So I have a few questions for you guys, and I'm going to ask the guests the same questions just to kind of, see if you guys do have any. And I want to ask you guys this. Do you guys have any favorite moments from this season? Do you have like one thing that was good? I'll start with you, Justin.
Start with teaching might take me long.
He said, let me think. He said, shit, I got to go all the way back
Teach
to
is at least going to be able to say, like, I had fun going to the park and everything. I can't even say that.
I mean, I feel like you went to the Cubs stadium more than the Sox this year.
Oh, I did. You don't feel like you. That's not incorrect. I think I haven't been to Wrigley since.
Yeah, I was going to say, you haven't been there either in a while, too.
Yeah, but I probably went to like 5 Cubs games and then just the 2 Sox games.
Oh, you got to love it. So, Deech, you got anything? Was there anything good this year that was like good?
I mean, going to the ballpark, like Justin said, that was fun for me. I mean, recently it has not been fun. I went with my brother on Tuesday, and we definitely did not stay to. I don't think they had scored double-digit runs yet before we decided to leave, and that it was best to just go home and not be as angry. So, honestly, my favorite moment of the season was it was when I was on the way to the game that Rick Hahn and Jerry or Kenny Williams were actually fired. And I was on the phone with Justin.
Yeah, that was a good moment. That was that phone call was nice. That's definitely a highlight.
I mean, it's so sad. We're going down to phone calls that are the exciting point of the season. But you're absolutely right. Like when I got that text message, he was like I remember like back like when the Bears when they first got when they first got Khalil Mack. When the Bears were whatever they were doing, they were trying to. I remember my friend called me and he was like, "Bro, we just got Khalil Mack," and it was like that same type of a thing where it was like, okay, well maybe they're actually, and we saw how the Khalil Mack thing obviously went, but I mean, it was just like, like when stuff like that happens, it's just like, well, maybe there's something to be happened, and that we obviously saw Getz in the interview, and we don't know where it's going to go. And we did talk about the new guys last week that they brought in. And I will say this, I was very impressed with the one dude's interview from the Diamondbacks and how he was talking about like how he like groomed these guys and how he was like, just all of it. And he seemed like I just Deech, didn't you say where you think that he should be the GM instead of Getz?
Oh, someone replied. I think I had commented on one of the videos, but
okay, it was somebody else. I thought it was you, but I was just like, that's great. So what you
gonna say those guys though, both of them, it was Bannister and then who's the guy from Arizona? What's his name?
I forget how to say his last name. I'm so bad with pronouncing names.
That's the new pitcher director or whatever, the Arizona guy.
No, that was the San Francisco guy, Bannister.
Okay. Okay. I know who you're talking about though, the Arizona guy.
I forget what his name is. Gotta love it.
Whatever his name is, both of them, when they got interviewed, I will say I found it odd. And I mean, granted, it's just PR talk at that point. They know what they're supposed to say and not say.
Well, yeah, obviously.
I did find it odd that both made it a point to mention that they thought that the Sox were that they had a better opportunity to contend going to the Sox than either of them staying at their current clubs.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Up the division. I mean, when also saying that, but so it's almost like, are they solely? I mean, there has to be something there that they see. You can't just be like, oh, we're in a crappy division, so like that makes this the best opportunity for me.
Oh yeah, and that's the thing, and like we talked about last week with like them bringing guys from like winning organizations, like we saw how the D-backs are now. The D-backs, like I said, look like a goddamn. Maybe we just really that bad, but I mean, watching them play was really good. And his name was Josh Barfield. That's what it was.
Barfield. There you go.
I don't know why I was thinking like Bart. I was thinking like Bart Simpson, but yeah, Barfield. There we go. So, but I mean, that it's going to be very interesting to see what happens. I will say my favorite moment of the season, and maybe just because I love to watch it, and I like still remember what I was doing, was when they came back and they won in the last day of April, and Andrew Vaughn hit that walk.
Oh yeah, that was.
I think that was the only excitement, and I think that was the most excitement of my life I think I've ever had, where I finally felt like, okay, maybe this could be something. And that's just a game, like seeing comebacks like that. That's kind of why sometimes I like watching games, Because if you see a comeback like that, no matter what team it is, it's really cool. But when it's your team, it is even better. So in a dreadful season, I know that was long ago, but that was probably my favorite moment. And I wish there were so many more, but it just was not, Yeah.
Well, when your favorite moment is them ending a 10-game losing streak, you're probably fucked.
Well, exactly. And that's the thing. It was just like, and it was just all of it. It was just like, but I still remember what I was doing. Like, I still remember sitting in this chair, just jumping up and down. I'm just like, well, here we go. And it all went downhill. So, but again, I'm that person that always tries to keep hope until the hope is lost. But, I'm just not like the people that like to switch teams, like those Jake Berger bandwagon lovers that all of a sudden you want to ride Jake Berger all the way to flipping Maytown or whatever the hell they want to do. It's like, get over it. He's gone. I understand he's a good player, whatever, but just go away. Like, oh my God.
I mean, I'll never be over the trade, but like they're kind of
and that's
they're kind of weirdos because they're acting like he's a franchise icon. Like that's how I'll be for like a Abreu in the postseason, like pulling for him. Well, and that, for a decade, and I mean, I like Berger. I'm mad about the trade, but they're ruining him for me. Like,
well, exactly, and that's the thing where it's not like it was like it's like saying okay, like when we saw like Frank Thomas go to the Blue Jays, like that was one of those things that was just like, oh my God, like I can't even believe this happened. But I still remember being like a semi Blue Jays fan because I liked Frank Thomas. But Frank Thomas is big hurt. He went out there and did all the great things he did. We had Jake Berger for whatever, and it's like I understand it, but we don't know that this guy was really going to make a difference. He could have hit 30 home runs, and we still lost 100 games.
Well, yeah, so, I mean, the wins and losses, clearly he wasn't impacting.
And that's the thing.
The point stands that they had two good hitters this year and traded one of them.
Well, and that's the thing. If other guys were performing and if other guys were doing what they were supposed to be doing, we wouldn't be talking about this, because if Eloy was walking into 40, Robert was doing great things. Robert was probably the brightest spot of this team.
Does Eloy even have 40 RBIs?
I don't know. I just remember a bunch of people saying that Eloy was going to walk into 40, so it's kind of funny that he doesn't even. And I low-key did not even know the White Sox had a guy that had 80 RBIs until Andrew Vaughn hit that home run. I'm like, wait, the Sox have that many RBIs on a player? I'm like, true? I'm like,
tied Robert with that.
Yeah, I'm just like, well, I didn't even know that. I'm like, okay, then. Yeah, and I knew Robert was like the closest one, but I was just like, okay. And it's sad, like, that we're not even going to hit, like, somebody's not going to hit 100 RBIs. And it's like, it's just,
what's actually sad is 38 homers and 80 RBIs.
Yeah.
That's pretty impressive. It's hard to do.
Yeah. And obviously Luis Robert is out for the year. Me and Deech were talking about that before we started recording. He slid. What'd you say it was, Friday or Saturday against the Red Sox? Or was it that muddy six inning game on Sunday?
Wherever he got his 20th stolen bag to get that whatever stat. I think it was like 35 homers, 35 doubles, and 20 steals. Was like a White Sox, like no one's ever done that else in history. But yeah, when he slid in, the way he slid in, it looked like he like jammed his knee, and yeah.
I saw him like go like in the back and go this. I'm like, you gotta love it. So, guys, as I said, we have a couple guests coming on the show. A couple of the guys that were on the show earlier this year, we invited back for the season review episode to talk, hang out, have a good time. So the first guest that we have here coming back here on Tino's Time, it's our guy Elijah. So let's welcome Elijah back to Tino's Time. How you doing?
What's going on, fellas? How you guys doing?
I'm doing okay, man.
Living the dream.
He said living the
working as we speak.
Are you working?
Something came up real quick.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
It's the grind. What's
up?
You
gotta love it, man. The grind never stops. No. So Elijah, how are you feeling today? How are you feeling? The baseball season is coming to an end. Do you watch the playoffs like regularly?
Yeah, no, I'm doing a lot of other baseball stuff for some of the work I do. I do all different teams I'm covering right now. So as much as I do love the White Sox, as much as I also hate the White Sox, I'm looking forward to some playoff baseball that doesn't involve the White Sox. Honestly, it's going to be a little refreshing to watch some good quality baseball without having to worry about the Sox. So yeah, it'll be good. I'm excited for the playoffs, but I do wish things were different. And I'm also, I'm diving into some hardcore prospect content right now. So I'm trying to look for the positives in the midst of a pretty painful season, right?
You got anybody you like in this postseason, either rooting interest wise, or I think they're going to win aside from obviously Atlanta?
Yeah, I mean, it would honestly be surprising at this point if Atlanta didn't win. I think that would be like, it would just be kind of embarrassing on their part just because of how loaded that roster is. And they've looked so complete in every way. I would love to see the Mariners make it and make a run. I just think Seattle's a fun team. They have a great culture there. I just love their energy. It doesn't even seem like they're going to make it at this point. I mean, they've got to win 3 out of 4 at least with the Rangers this weekend to make it. So they may fall out. I'm also riding with Baltimore, man. I mean, it's crazy. I found it is a popular answer, but I found a pretty cool stat the other day when I was doing some baseball stuff. It's like you look at the White Sox, right? And for 2 years ago, right? 2021, it doesn't even seem like that long ago.
They showed the memory this past week of us winning the division. I'm like, you had to do that. Like
not only that, but right, you've got a 100 loss Baltimore Orioles team and a Chicago White Sox winning the division by 11 games 2 years ago.
That was the year they lost 100. That's
110 games. And now here we are today, and the Orioles are a 100-win team, and the White Sox are going to possibly be a 100-loss team. It's crazy how baseball works sometimes.
That is a crazy
It is nuts.
It's
pretty nuts. But I'd like to see them do good, and I'd also like to see Arizona make a run. I would love to see what Arizona can do. They have just like a great culture there. Their farm system, they did everything the right way. Kind of they are kind of a light version of what Baltimore's done, but a little bit sooner. They're not quite there yet, and I think Arizona's a team that it's them make big moving for trading off free agency stuff this year. But for the short term, they're still going to be in the playoffs most likely, and they could be a surprise little team in the National League, behind the Braves.
And that's the thing. These playoffs are going to be very interesting because as I'm looking at it, it's like me and Deets were talking before we started recording. I didn't even realize the Astros were like that close to not even making it. I obviously, like you said, Seattle's got to win 3 out of 4, but anything can happen. I mean, they could go out and sweep them, and especially after that fight, they might want to. The fight that they almost had with the Astros, they might go out and be like, let's sweep these guys and let's not make sure the Astros not make it. I mean, sometimes it's just the motivation you need with these guys, but that's the thing. It's like these playoffs are going to be really interesting to see where they go because, like you said, we have different teams like the Orioles, and we see like watching the Diamondbacks play. Like it was ridiculous this past week, and that was probably the first time I've actually sat down and watched them because they were playing the White Sox, and the Sox obviously suck, but it's just like it's crazy to see. So I guess I'll ask you that who is like your like top favorite for the playoffs, and who's your dark horse? Who do you think is a team like kind of like the Phillies that like got in and made it and what made it to the Super Bowl, the World Series?
No, you're good.
I'm thinking baseball. Or football.
Yeah, the National League, I think, is the Braves to lose. But like I just said, I think the Diamondbacks are my team where I could see them making some noise. I mean, when you've got a top 2 in your rotation of Gallen and Kelly, those guys are really talented, and they've got a lineup filled with, just a variety. Obviously, Corbin Carroll is going to be the Rookie of the Year. He's going to finish top 10 in MVP, which is crazy.
He's so
but he's insane.
But
the rest of that lineup,
fast. I was like, holy crap.
No, he's nuts. The rest of that lineup is talented, and they've got a roster up and down that if they get in and they're in a good spot, I could see them making some noise. But I would have to go with Atlanta in the National League. I think the Dodgers look a little bit weaker, just injury based and other things than they have in the past, in a way where Atlanta just has a clear step above them. I could see anything happening, but I definitely would go with Atlanta in the National League. When you look at the American League, American League is going to be a bloodbath. I mean, this is one of the first years in a while we've seen where I could legitimately see any of the teams, aside from maybe the Twins. I don't believe in the Twins making a run.
AL Central losers?
No, the AL Central's a joke, and the Twins they're a fine team, and they've put together a solid roster. I think for them, it's going to come down to those, if Pablo Lopez and Sonny Gray and Joe Ryan can really dominate on the mound, the Twins will have a shot. But when you look at some of these, I mean, just the battles we've seen in the East and the West this year in the AL, the Orioles and the Rays in the East, and the Jays, who are going to be a wild card team. And then you look at the West with one of, Texas, Houston, and Seattle is probably not even going to make the playoffs. And all 3 of those teams could make a run if they get hot. So I could see really anything happening in the American League. I kind of like, whoever. I think whoever's in that 6th seed, whether it be Houston or, I hate saying Houston's not a dark horse because they're Houston and they win every year, but whoever's in that 6th seed has such a nice positioning because you have a spot where you get to face Minnesota in the first round, who is the weakest of all the playoff teams. And I don't even think that's really debatable in the American League. And then from the 6th seed, you go from Houston to then playing an in-division team and likely the Rangers, however that AL West shakes out, whoever's in the 6th seed gets Minnesota first, and then they get the division winner in the American League West. So you get a team you're familiar with after coming off a Twin series that is very winnable. And then, from there, obviously the battle of the AL East is going to be crazy because it looks like the Orioles are going to win the division. The Rays still have a shot technically, but assuming the Orioles won, then you have the 4 and 5 most likely between the other two teams with the Rays and the Jays in that same division. So you get a first round between Rays and Jays. The winner of that would then play the Orioles. So it's going to be really cool to see the divisional battles between both the East and the West, where it almost looks like we're going to see both divisions kind of battle it out in the playoffs. And then ultimately the winner of each divisional matchup would end up being the American League Championship. So I like the Orioles. I don't know if their pitching's quite there. I think the winner of whoever makes it out between Houston and Seattle would be the team that I really am kind of looking at and keyed in on. And I think the Rays are a little too injured, but the Rays are just so talented and so deep.
It don't matter who's on the team for them.
Exactly.
Until they get into their dumbass letting the computers run the show in the postseason.
Yeah,
and
right.
You end up
Exactly.
pulling a guy dominating a World Series game.
Right. So we'll see what happens, but it'll be exciting. I'm looking forward to playoff baseball, and I'm also looking forward to, some White Sox excitement on the future. And, I'm doing a lot of prospect stuff right now, diving into stuff. Hopefully I'm going to be making my way to Arizona for the Arizona Fall League, which should be pretty cool. We've got a lot of our top prospects down there. So there's things to look forward to. I know you guys wanted to talk a little bit about this season, but we can get into some White Sox stuff, I guess.
Well, yeah. And that's the thing. I mean, it's like, as bad as the season has been, I mean, it just, I don't even know. Like sometimes I'm like lost to say because I'm just like, well, again, it is what it is. And everything you just said about the playoffs is like why I still like watching like the baseball in the playoffs, because you said it earlier.
Sure.
Watching teams that are actually good fight up against each other and watch good baseball games instead of watching the Sox get their butts kicked 15-3 every day. It's like that's actually somewhat exciting. So I did ask you some questions before we started recording. I sent you. So I asked them before you came on too. So what was your favorite moment of the season? Could be in the minors, whatever it was. And what was your least favorite part of like the season? And like,
good luck choosing just one.
He said, right. There's a lot to choose from. So, but I mean,
no, there is a lot. There's a lot. I think for me, just generally, I'll do one major league stuff and then I'll go into the minor a little bit. But I think in the major leagues, just really watching Luis Robert. I know you guys have probably said this before I came on, but watching Luis Robert be the player that we've always wanted him to be was something that just made me happy. Honestly, in a season that was sad, right? We knew it was in him. Every White Sox fan, every single person who watches the White Sox knew this guy could be a star, right? That was never a question. Anybody who doubted that it was not watching him carefully, because he had of all these guys in this core, right? He was the guy with the upside you could look at it and say, like, that guy could be an absolute superstar. Like I always thought, I thought the same thing with Moncada, to be fair. Those were the two where I thought it was, those two were going to be the future. And he's that guy. I mean, Luis Robert he's that guy. That was my favorite thing with the major league team. There wasn't a lot to like, but seeing what he did this season was just awesome. Also, Jake Berger, got to give credit to Jake Berger. He had a few home runs early in the season that were just awesome. He had that walk-off against Detroit, I remember, and then there was another one. He gave us some fun moments early in the season. And then on the flip side of it, I was really excited to just see the progression of the farm system this year. I went down and spent a week in Birmingham watching the Barons and just getting to, interact with some of the guys and see what everything's going on down there. And I'm very hopeful for the future. Honestly, I know many people are not, and I get it. And I get why you wouldn't be, but at the same time, all we can do is hope that, that things go well, and then follow carefully and be responsible with it, and look at guys and analyze them truthfully, without getting too emotionally attached to it. I try to, at least. And I think that, Colson Montgomery and Brian Ramos and a lot of these other guys we've got on the horizon are really talented. And I think we're going to see next year, the beginning of it. And hopefully by 2025, we're really going to have a full, new core of guys coming up and making a difference. So, I mean, it's not a yay, this season was great for the White Sox, but at the same time, there was some really quality development going on down in the minors.
And that's exactly what we got to do. It's all we can do is hold on to hope, because I mean, again, like it's going to be a new season. Hopefully the things change and hopefully we see something. And I didn't ask Justin or Deets this question, but I'll ask you guys all together. What is one thing you guys drastically like? I mean, I know we know like the things like Eloy and Moncada need to be gone and etc. And some people, depending on what you agree with that. But what is one thing you guys all want to see like definitely change? Like if it's a player, if it's something, what do you think that like hopefully in 2024, when we're sitting here next year during spring, that has changed, that maybe it could go into the future, that'd be like, to give us some type of hope, because I think that's going to be the biggest thing is no White Sox fan right now believes in anything because they haven't proved to do anything. They need to prove something for us to believe in it.
Yeah.
They need starting pitching, man, first and foremost. Like, I mean, the lineup sucks. You're stuck with so much garbage and dead weight in that lineup with bad contracts. Benintendi, Moncada, Eloy. I mean, none of them are good. None of them are good. They're all on the books. They're all owed money. No one's taking that money. But the starting rotation, we don't have to get into Clev again. There's going to be varying opinions on that. If he wants to come back, as far as I'm concerned, he has a spot in the rotation. As far as I'm concerned, he's the opening day starter if he wants to come back.
And he was the best pitcher this year. I mean, the way he's went out, like Deech said it last week, he's been the one guy that's like past like few weeks that if there's a game on, that's the one game you kind of want to watch because he'll keep us in the game.
Yeah. So you have him and Dylan, and potentially not even him. And then, who knows what's going to happen with Kopech. Because it was actually the openings to improve the team are really in the starting rotation. So that's simply where they need to spend their money and bring in a couple of real starters. And if they have built a solid enough rotation, the division is bad enough where like that can already put them in a good spot. Like a lot of people clown, I don't even know what kind of season he had, but a lot of people clown the Twins when they traded Arise for Pablo Lopez. But look at, Elijah, you just mentioned him when you were talking about the Twins playoff rotation. Like starting pitching is the most important thing to have, always has been. That's never going to change. And the White Sox have a lot of wiggle room there right now, having, moving off of Lynn, moving off of Giolito. That was the biggest strength on the team in 2021 when they won the division. It's the biggest strength on the team in 2005 when they won the World Series. So it works. That's what they need to do.
Yeah, fortunately, we've got hopefully we're gonna have my guy Nick Nastrini, who should be. I think Nastrini's gonna have a really good chance to open with the rotation. But even if you're bringing in one of these, I mean, he's the most league ready of the pitching prospects, and I think there's a variety of pitching prospects on the way in the near future. But looking at next year, you need to add at least one. Almost definitely two starting pitchers to the rotation. I mean, I get you can say, and I don't think as much as you say it's a competitive division, I don't think this team is winning the division or even getting close to winning the division next year, regardless of what they do.
Oh, I don't disagree with that at all.
But with that said, the least you can do is add a pitcher or two that is consistent and solid, and you can get a guy. I mean, worst case, you add some 1-year deals and you flip them at the deadline. I mean, look at what we got for Keenan Middleton, who was a 1-year veteran contract, right? Who we turned into a guy that I think is a really good pitching prospect in Juan Carrella. So I mean, it's at the least you add a few short-term veteran pitchers, and if they're solid for you, great. You can flip them at the deadline for something. If you have a pitching prospect who's ready, you flip them at the deadline, you bring up a prospect. If they're good enough where you want to keep them, you keep them for another year. I mean, there's so many ways to navigate pitching these days, and starting pitching is such a premium in this league that the worst thing you do is you add a guy and you flip him immediately at the deadline. If that's the worst case, then why not, right? There's no downside to that. So you have to try to get creative.
I'm still looking at the Giolito trade. I mean, look at that.
Yeah,
I mean, the guy went to the Guardians, and I haven't even heard from him. So it's just like, and hopefully Quiro, or I think that's his last name.
Quiro's good.
Caro, I think you know what I mean. And that's the thing right there with that, like, so
yeah, no, we'll see what happens. I think in terms of just changes, I mean, I think organizationally the hitting philosophy needs so much changing. I think that we've said this time and time again, and everybody know every person who watches the White Sox can say this, but they're one of the least patient teams in the league. They don't walk at all. They're overreach. When I saw Moncada walk today, I was just like, oh my God, we got to walk. I was like, that's a miracle. Yeah, like, it's just not a good organizational style of hitting. And it's been obvious the last few years with this talent that we have that we should be hitting more than we are. And it's just the way that they approach things. There's not enough plate approach. There's no consistent power outside of a few guys. And it's just a lot of rollover ground balls and over swinging in counts where you don't need to be aggressive. And it's aggressive at the wrong times and not aggressive enough at other times. It's just bad plate approach. That simply put, the plate approach in this entire roster is just poor. And it's something that we need to see change over the next few years. And this next core of players, like there's a lot of guys in the minor leagues who have really, really consistent approach. You just talked about Caro. Colson Montgomery is one of the best walk rates in the minor leagues in the last 2 years. And he's a guy who, yes, he can hit, but he also knows how to be patient and take his walks and wait for the stuff he's looking for. And that's something that we have so little of on this roster. And that is just from an entire franchise standpoint, changing the approach at the plate needs to happen in the next year or two.
Yeah, and that's gonna be the big thing to see. So, Deech, you've been quiet over there, bro. You okay? What you got going on? What do you think? What is what? I know you got a lot of things you want to see change. So, what's one thing you definitely want to see change before the season or before like spring starts next year?
My big one was the approach played. So, I mean, Eloy Jimenez is a prime example of like. Everyone sat there and was like, he's going to hit 40 home runs. And every game, you just sit there and watch him ground out to like shortstop, ground out to third. And it's always with a guy on base where you're like, not doing anything with this at bat. Like he's going to ground into a double play and the inning will be over. Where I was at the game Tuesday, and when he had guys on base and came up to the plate, I turned to my brother and I was like, this fucking is going to sit here and ground into a double play. And then he homered. So I was like, all right, cool, you homered. But I was like, 3 runs isn't going to win this game either. And sure enough, they lost. I think it was 15-3.
It was 14 or 15-3. That's why I said it, because because that's why I said as soon as they scored that first run, the D-backs, I was like, well, here we go. And then it was just like walk after walk, hit after hit. And it just.
I mean, I'd be interested to see what the stat is for the last time that they hit 2 multi-run home runs. I mean, I feel like this year has just been like solo home run. Yeah. I mean, which Justin pointed out, I think earlier with Robert, that it's insane with how many home runs he's hit.
Yeah.
His lack of RBIs just based off it. Just
his average, 38 and 80 on the power numbers.
That's insane. That shouldn't be possible. I mean, it really should not be possible to have that few RBIs when you're hitting almost 40 home runs.
Like the fact that oh, God.
Robert has
like you would think some guy would like be able to walk like especially somebody like him would especially have a couple 3-run home runs or something like that. And it's like, just makes me so sad. The more and more we talk about these numbers, it's like this is how bad the season really has been. And it's like sometimes like I don't realize like it's been that bad, but I'm just like, dang, like might be one of the worst seasons like ever. Like, and I hope we never have to see it again. But after what I said last year to Deech, and I said last year could it have been the worst case, I don't even know what next year's gonna be. So I ain't saying nothing. I'm just hoping for the best. So, But Elijah, I want to say thank you for coming on and hanging out for a little bit. We got a few more guys coming on the show.
Yeah, definitely.
Before you go, if there's anything you want everybody to know what's going down or what you got going on up during the off season,
you guys
have you on a season, maybe
for sure.
Like a minor league episode or something.
Definitely, man. I'm doing some cool stuff. If you guys, for Sox fans that want to, learn this next wave, I'm going to be doing weekly prospect interviews for Future Sox. So every week I'm going to have a prospect on with me, just talking about their life and their baseball, their game, their career adjustments they're making in the offseason, all that type of stuff. So I got Jacob Burke, who is a big time breakout candidate, coming on this week, and then a bunch of different recent draft picks, prospects. Basically every week will be an interview with me and a prospect. So keep up with my Twitter, the Future Sox Twitter, and we'll it's gonna be fun. It's a good way to learn about prospects, and all off season I'll be doing tons of different minor league breakdowns. And as much as the Sox are bad, again, like I said earlier, you gotta look towards the future and have some fun with it, because that's all we can do as White Sox fans who have experienced a lot of crap. So keep up with me, and we'll have a lot of prospect content coming on. I'd love to come talk some prospects sometime, Tino.
Yeah, man. And that's the thing. We just gotta find something, and like there's like like some people like
we are going to be talking about big free agent signings.
We are not getting Otani guys, or just remember Jerry.
Believe it or not, I don't think so.
Oh my God!
But thank you guys. I appreciate you guys having me.
But Elijah, and if you ever want to send me the links or whatever, I'm always there to share and help you out. So if you ever want to send it to mine or SouthSide Boys, always help you out, man. And like I said, let's definitely do something during the off season to maybe look forward to 2024. So
awesome.
Have a good rest of your day. Have a good rest of your weekend.
You guys too.
Talk soon.
Take care. Have a good one.
See you. So, guys, while we wait for the next guest on the show, let's get through the comments. We have 30 comments, so let's see if there's any good comments in here. People be popping, I guess, today. I guess maybe some of my promotion and Deech's promotion helped. Let's see, though. We got Missy in the chat. What's up, Missy? If you guys have not yet, make sure you hit that like button. Let's help this episode get into the popular videos. Also, hit that subscribe button. We're only 4 subscribers away to 1,230, so if you have not yet, hit that subscribe button. We got Jadis in the house. What's up, Jadis? What happened with LA Knight? What LA Knight got COVID? I did hear about that.
Oh, that's tragic.
Do you know who? What do you know about LA Knight?
My buddy who's big into WWE is obsessed with him.
Hey,
that's his guy.
Yeah,
he's one of the modern, one of the new era guys that I.
Oh, it's so funny, bro, because he's been around.
He's got an old school vibe to him.
Yeah, and he's been around for a while. Like, he was in the developmental, like NXT and everything, and for a few years he was doing it he was doing a rivalry with Ted DiBiase. He was doing a few other things, and nobody knew who this man was. And then all of a sudden he came out on the main roster. He said, "Yeah," one time. And everybody's like, "Oh my god, LA Knight!" I'm like, guys, like, come on. Yeah, literally.
It's good though, dude. He's old school. He's committed to. He has a character, and he's actually like in the bit. He's not like. The Undertaker had this whole thing about it. It was a really good like clip, I guess, of him. Like a lot of the people today are on, social media and everything, and so they have this character in WWE, but they're not actually that person in real life, obviously. And you get to see it now through social media and everything. But
it's so
LA is kind of old school and committed to the bit of who he is in the ring and in the show.
It's so great, man. And the fact, guys, it took 28 episodes, but we got Justin or Deets to talk about some wrestling. But no, you're absolutely right, man. And like seeing like the Undertaker now, like I was that kid that was scared of the Undertaker. Like, you couldn't turn off the lights without like anything. And I always tell this story back with WrestleMania 22 back in 2006. I was 10 years old, and my dad liked to mess with me, and he's been Undertaker at a casket match with Mark Henry, and Undertaker won. And after the casket match, my dad goes, "Oh, well, Trent, he's bringing his casket over to bring you home to Dead Valley." And me as a 10-year-old, I'm sitting there thinking, great. So all of a sudden, halfway through the rest of the WrestleMania, my dad goes outside and rings the doorbell and knocks on the door thinking the Undertaker's going to go. And then he runs back in the house, and I can't with you guys. So it's so cool to see the Undertaker like a normal person now, because I was so scared of him for all those years. And it's like, why was I scared? Because he's just like, because, at that time, we don't know that they're characters. We're just think the dead man's from Dead Valley, and he's going to come and rise from the dead with his arm, and him and his brother Kane were going to, man.
Dude, he bagged Michelle McCool. I mean, that's pretty.
Bro, what you know about Michelle McCool? Where's all this wrestling knowledge coming out?
I had like that era that you just mentioned. Like that's like
it's so good.
Right up my alley.
My niece is good. Went to see my two baby nieces last night. That was fun. That was good. Good times. They're doing good. Same old. Big bunch of so little, bro. I don't even want a kid. I can't. Everybody keeps telling me, they're like, no, I can't have kids. No kids. Shit, I can't even just provide for myself.
Can't even take care of me.
That's what I'm saying, bro. I can't even do it. So
Lions tonight.
So before we have our next guest come in, let's answer this one last question real quick. Lions or Packers tonight?
Lions tonight.
Who you got, Deech? Fudge Packers or the Lions?
I just would like the Lions to win. So roll with that. I mean, I don't want the Packers to win. I'm tired of listening to people get all up about Jordan Love or whatever.
Oh my god,
Jordan Love being better than Justin Fields is objectively funny though.
Oh, it's so bad. It's all a disaster. Well, guys, this man, last time we had him on the show, we weren't able to see him because we were having some camera issues, but this time I see he got his camera fixed. So guys, let's welcome back Triple A Jeff back to Tino's time, and we can see you this time. What's up, Jeff? How you doing?
Yeah, I thought I would call in from home instead of the basement of the Winston-Salem Dash ballpark.
I mean, hey, that works, man. I'm happy to have you back. I appreciate you coming on for a couple minutes, talk some baseball and everything else like that. So we just had Elijah on the show, and he was talking about some minor leagues, and he was talking about his favorite moments and everything else like that. So I figured I'd ask you the same questions. I want you to give me one of your favorite moments of the season and your least favorite moments of the season. It could be from minors, it could be from the majors, it could be anything else like that. And then I got, what is one thing that you want to see change next year coming in like to 2024? So floor is all yours, Jeff. What do you got?
All right. So I hopped on early because I wanted to listen to Elijah. That guy is all over White Sox prospects. He spent a week down in Birmingham and did some great stuff. So I am at Future Sox along with Elijah. If anyone's interested in prospects, Future Sox is probably the place to go. Enough of the commercial. But
oh my God, the commercial.
But I would say the there were kind of two things I really got a kick out of this year. One was, and they were both at Kannapolis. One was like in the last 2 weeks of the season, I went there, and they had just brought up a couple of players from the Arizona complex, and they weren't even active in Kannapolis. They just let them be there to kind of see what minor league baseball is all about. One was George Wolkow, I think the 7th round pick that
Downers Grove, Illinois.
Yeah, signed for $1 million. And the other guy they brought up was Ryan Burroughs. And if you're familiar with Burroughs, he played in the Dominican Summer League last year, and he was one of like about a half dozen guys who just came over to the Complex League this year. Tons of potential in those half dozen or so guys. And he's really highly regarded. He hadn't had his first minor league at bat yet, and he's already in the White Sox top 30 on MLB.com and at Future Sox. And he's from Panama. So I went up to him and I thought, I'm going to try and interview him in Spanish, and it's kind of rough, but I'll give it a shot. Turns out he spoke fluent English. And so I said, Ryan, can I interview you? He goes, yeah, absolutely. So I said, my first question, I said, White Sox fans don't know that much about you. What can you tell us about your game? And his answer was great. He said, I'm electric. He said, if you stand still, I'm going right by you. I play fast. I do everything fast. I'm electric. And I thought, this guy is going to be so much fun to cover when he starts playing in Winston and Kannapolis in the next year or two. So I got a big kick out of that, talking to him and anticipating what he's going to be like. And the other moment that I really enjoyed was just watching a recent draft pick, Rikui Nishida, the Japanese-American player who was just drafted this year. And I've never seen a guy with his game before. I mean, when you say slap hitter, that ball's not coming off the bat 50 miles an hour. I mean, he's just trying to hit the ball, trying to beat the ball to first base before some infielder can pick it up and throw it. He's just going to be a blast to watch. I can't imagine when Wolkow, Nishida, and Burroughs are all at Kannapolis at the same time. So that's kind of the highlights. Nothing crazy, but a lot of fun.
Hey, I mean, and can't speak. And that's one of those things. It's kind of cool just to be able to talk to those guys and see, because it's one of those things. Then you watch them like grow up and watch them. Like I remember meeting a dude at Sox Fest, like one of the first few years. And like, I remember seeing his name on like one of the things, and it was like a prospect list or whatever. And he ended up not making anything of himself or anything like that. But it was just kind of cool because it's like, I like being able to watch the people grow and build and go, and then see them go from AAA to, or single A, double A, triple A to the majors. And you'd be like, you know what I mean? Like the whole backstory thing to me, I don't know. I always find it cool to like watch people's backstories and see things, because it's like you get like a different type of like sense of like where they're from and everything else like that. And it's really cool. So it's definitely really cool, like that you're able to like have stuff like that. And I didn't even know you and Elijah like did that stuff together. That's kind of a fun fact. I didn't know that. So
yeah, we talked before he went to Birmingham, because he was trying to figure out, what exactly he was going to do when he was down there, and he wanted to know about some of my experiences in Kannapolis and Winston-Salem. So yeah, we double team stuff a lot. It's a lot of fun.
Hey, that works. What was your least favorite moment of this year?
Oh boy,
everything.
Well, the Knights, they were like at the All-Star break, or the first half. The minor league has two halves to the season. The first half of the season, I think there were only 4 games under 500. But in the second half of the season, let me see if I've got that number. They were, 10? The second half of the season, they were 18-56.
Oh, God.
It was brutal.
Were the Sox much better, though? Because I feel like the Sox, I haven't won 18. I can't even.
No, you're right. Well, pick your poison. Who do you want to suffer through that night?
Just, That's the thing. Like at the last month, the only thing that's kind of helped me is like football and fantasy football being back. So it kind of like takes the pain away because at least if I win in fantasy or whatever, especially the way the Bears are playing, the Bears are as bad as the White Sox. I don't know what it is. Chicago sports, can you stop sucking so bad? Because and then the Bucks decide to go out and get Damian Lillard, which I can't.
Connor Bedard tonight, though. Think about that.
Huh?
Connor Bedard? You're not a hockey guy?
No, I'm not a hocky guy. That's the one sport I'm kind of like, I don't know much about. And I tell people, I'm like, well, I don't know. I can't talk about it because I don't know anything. And I don't want to be an idiot and come on here and be like, I don't know. So
we had you on earlier in the year. So you were not here for when Rick Hahn and Kenny Williams got
fired. Yeah, that's right. Go ahead.
And Chris Getz was hired. So I just wanted to know what your opinion is of Chris Getz being hired as the guy in charge for the White Sox.
Well, here's the way I look at that. Elijah spoke about all these guys on the cusp of the major leagues in Birmingham. I'd say like 15 guys, 7 or 8 pitchers, 7 or 8 hitters. So a lot of guys are really good and really close. And I think we're going to find out really soon what kind of player development operation Chris Getz put together, because can it turn guys like Wilfred Veras and Brian Ramos and Kai Bush, all these guys, into major leaguers? So I don't really, I wish him well. I don't really have an opinion about Chris Getz, but I think by 2025, we're going to know if there's anything to him or not, because either these guys are major leaguers and they're not, or they're not. And so we're going to know pretty soon if there's anything to his player development. I mean, because this player development operation is what he built. He may be getting ready to hand it off to somebody else, but it's
very interesting to see. And that's the thing. It's going to be like the one thing, like this offseason is going to be very interesting. It's like, I feel like I might have to be coming on here to do I'm hoping to do a bunch of breaking news episodes, because then that means they're actually doing something. Because that's the thing. It's like, I really want to see what they're going to do. And that's where it's like going into next year, like, where is this team going to be? Because like Elijah said it, like, he doesn't think that they're going to make it next year. And it's like, that's the thing. Like, it could be like that. We have no idea. And it's like, that's like the big question is we really don't know what's going to happen. And we just really have to wait and see and play and, and just hope for the best. And that's honestly all I can do. And I feel like we can do, because what are we going to expect? Because they haven't done anything to prove otherwise. So
now, Jeff, with the Sox bringing in Josh Barfield from Arizona, do you know much about their player development, or is he highly regarded? Because it seems like he is, but we don't have a ton of information on him. So obviously they had built a farm system to feed into that major league team that is there now. So any insight on that?
Yeah, I don't really know that much about him. I did listen to a podcast this week with actually a couple guys at Future Sox. Mike Rankin and James Fox were talking about it, and they seem pretty enthused about him. And, you're right. I mean, if you just look at the Arizona farm system, they took those prospects and they turned them into major leaguers. So that's real exciting. Yeah, that's a great point.
That's something we haven't done here.
Right. But again, we haven't really had that many guys, certainly last year. But that's different now. I mean, there are a bunch of guys who are on the cusp of the major leagues down in Birmingham. So, like I said, we're going to find out if they know anything about player development, because they're ready.
Yeah, it's going to be really interesting to see. Well, Jeff, I want to thank you for coming on for a little bit. We got one more guest coming on the show, so I want to make sure I give a couple give them some time too. So, anything you got going on this offseason, anything you want to let the people know? I told Elijah, definitely gonna have to do like a minor league episode, maybe like early like February or March or something, figure out something. But anything you got going on the rest of the year? Anything you want to tell anybody else? You got anything else you want to say?
Well, you were talking about what people would like to see with the White Sox. Yeah. And, Elijah talked about the poor plate discipline that the White Sox had. And something that sort of goes hand in hand with that is the team also just seemed to have a really poor baseball IQ, right? guys on second, no outs. Do they get them to third? Probably
Small
not.
ball. Like watching the D-backs, they did it today. That's how they got their one run. They it's like, come on, steal a couple bases, and we see Robert do it, but it just
Yeah, I mean, guys like Andrus and Tim Anderson, veterans making base running mistakes. I mean, that just shouldn't be happening.
And it's just like when you see this, it just looks like they just don't care. And I think that's what makes me the most mad.
Didn't correct any of these issues.
Oh my God, Pedro.
So that I'd really like to see that change as well. I'd like to see, and at least I've seen it in the minor leagues in Kannapolis and Winston-Salem. I know they're trying to teach these guys how to win, how to do the little things, how to bunt, how to move guys over, how to run bases. So at least I'm like Elijah also in that I'm kind of optimistic about the future. I mean, not only are there a bunch of good guys in Birmingham, but man, Winston and Kannapolis are loaded, especially with pitching.
Yeah, and that's gonna be. I mean, and that's gonna be the thing. Is we just gotta hope all the right guys work out, and hopefully this wave of guys goes out there and does what the first wave of guys that we hope did. Yeah. Because it's just And
are these guys ball players, Jeff? Because my biggest gripe with this current core is that I don't feel like any of them are truly ball players at their heart and at their core.
That's a fair question.
Well, you look at. I think a great example of what you're talking about is a guy like Jacob Burke. I mean, he plays with his hair on fire. He plays with a chip on his shoulder. I'm going to prove to you that I'm a major league player. I love that attitude.
Yeah.
And I wish they had 20 guys like that.
I was going to say,
I wish they had 2 guys like that on the big league roster.
Like I said, we could have 25 John Does on the team. If they all have a chip on their shoulder, they're all going to go out there and play baseball. And that's the thing. It's like I would rather like watching the Diamondbacks and these guys, besides like Corbin Carroll and like Alec Thomas, I think I knew like 2 of the other guys' names, but they all looked great and they're all going out there. And it's like, who cares who's on your team? Just hit the baseball, do your job, and let's go out there and do it. So you and Elijah, man, just make me feel better sometimes. Can you guys give us hope, at least me, because I have nothing to look forward to, especially with the Sox, the Cubs, or not the Cubs. Nobody likes the Cubs. We don't want to see the Cubs.
We just got to get through 2024. Yeah. That's going to be really bad.
Let's hope not. Let's hope it's not. But again, that's what we got to expect. And that's the thing. I'm not going to go into next year with any expectations. We just got to hope and see, and hopefully for growth. And, because again, it is what it is and there's nothing we can do. We just got to hope that these guys work out. So yeah. But Jeff, thank you, man, for coming on, talking a little bit, making me feel a little better as we're winding down to the season, man. And like I said, definitely gonna have to have you on. It was nice to actually be able to see you this time. I felt bad that we just heard your voice. I was like, well, like a floating head. So, but
I enjoyed it. It's always great to catch up with you guys. You guys do a great job, and have a good off season. We'll see you in the spring.
Hey, yes, sir. Thank you, Jeff. You too. Have a good one and enjoy.
All righty.
Yeah. Well, we're gonna wait. We're gonna wait like 5 more minutes, and if he doesn't show up, then he doesn't show up. So I'm just gonna go through the chat. But yeah. So it was good though. Good last episode. We haven't had to talk about anything bad yet.
Well, to Elijah's point, and I was thinking about this after he left.
Go ahead. What do you got?
Flip between the White Sox and Orioles in 2 years. Like, realistically, I mean, next year is really a crapshoot. And honestly, I mean, they would need to add the right pieces, and like Pedro Grafal would need to get in everyone's ass and be like, you're going to bust your fucking ass for me next year but that's the thing. I mean, Moncada is a prime example of that. We've talked about it before. Last year is the end of his money ride. So, I mean, if he wants to sit and get paid after next year, he actually needs to show up, perform, and be in.
I mean, you didn't see the home run today. He's back.
Not be injured.
I mean, no, you're right. And you're right there. And that's the thing. It's like, again, and like if the right pieces fit, who knows? Maybe they are a surprise team next year. Maybe they at least compete for the wild card. I mean, hey, again, that's where we're at now. So that's what we're looking forward to. But I just want to see them go out there and compete and not like it just. Like it's just like watching these guys go out there and play baseball. Like Jeff literally just said, the IQ of these guys running the bases or not tagging or not doing this, or they do tag. And it's just like, what are we doing here? So I don't know, but I'm going to continue to go through the chat. And like I said, if I get through the chat and they don't show up, then they don't show up. We're just going to end the show because I got to go, and we will be here tonight for Thursday Night Football.
Hopefully Oscar Colas is the last example of like bad.
Oh, please, for the love of God. He said he did not get fired. Who got fired? Serious question. What did Grifol do to not get fired? He did everything to get fired. The White Sox are just dumb.
He came from Kansas City, which is apparently a gold mine for.
Oh my God, it's
company.
so annoying. This is a good question. I think, didn't Acuna do that? Has any player got an ACL before?
Yeah.
It's right. It was like,
well, Acuna did.
Okay, Acuna did. I know there was a few players, but it doesn't, Jadis, it doesn't happen as often as it happens in the NFL, obviously, because
was it spring training this year? Gavin Lux blew out his ACL running.
That's what it was that I was thinking of. That's right.
So. Yeah, it doesn't happen as often, but I mean, freak accidents. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. We were talking about that era earlier, Justin. I don't know. I haven't seen Randy Orton in a while. I want to see Randy Orton come back and team up with John Cena. I could go back to being 14 years old again. That'd be great. That my favorite moment, low key, might have been that fight because I was live watching. I think what Jadis was at SummerSlam. We were live watching. We had the fight going on. I had a lot of adrenaline going through. So maybe it was the fight. I did put it on the thumbnail too. So. No, we are not bringing back the Urminator. Go away with the Urminator. I think that's who he's talking about. LA Knight, yes, he was tested positive for COVID. He should be okay, though, I'm sure. I think LA Knight could be a John Cena tag team partner, too. Yes, Jadis, this is a call-in, bro. Listen, Jadis, we're trying something new here on Tino's Time, bro. Tino, go to the top. I'm reading the comments now. Shut the curse. I hate you so much. He said, "Congrats." Should we just give us the congratulations for participating trophy? Is that what we get? You gotta love it. I'm so dead.
At least Saturday when I'm going, Clevenger's pitching.
Hey, that's true. That's very good.
Like
I do have 5 kids. I had to take care of 4 dogs with my grandma this past weekend. It was not a fun time. Jadis, we will talk about that tonight while we play Madden. It's because, as Justin said, it's because he's on Kansas City. Yeah, it was SummerSlam. Okay, it was. Jadis, possibly during Madden tonight. But I don't know what happened to the third guest. I guess he got busy or whatever. So that's okay. So it's 6 o'clock, guys, and it's time to say goodbye until, at least for the White Sox season, until next year. So, you guys got anything last words you want to say? You want to say to anybody? I'm going to try to have you guys. I know the playoff thing is going to be kind of harder because obviously the playoffs start on different days. So I'll text you guys. And if you're available, then awesome. But if not, I'll just do it alone. And then that's fine. I totally get it because whatever. So if we don't see you guys back on here until next year, what do you want to say to the people? What do you got to say? Justin, go ahead.
Thanks for tuning in all your us through the fucking misery.
That's very true. Thanks for getting us through it. I feel like this show helped us vent every week.
That and go Mizzou. Those are my only statements.
There we go. So, Deech, you got anything else you want to say? I'm sure I'll drag you on an episode in some point. I'll try.
Yeah. Chris, two things. You cannot decline Tim Anderson's option. I've gotten to that point where there's just no way you can. It's the same point that Elijah was making with the signing a veteran pitcher to a 1-year deal. If you suck again next year and Tim Anderson even returns to like decent form, you're going to get something at the deadline for him. Whereas if you, other than saving money, which would just be kind of a fuck you to the fans because they're not going to like spend that money elsewhere.
Yeah,
they got to pick it up. Otherwise, you're gonna get Elvis Andrus again for like $2.5 million or some shit.
Man, it's gonna be very interesting to see. But the White Sox got a 3-game series against the Padres. They're probably gonna lose 100 games unless miracles happen. But that was the White Sox 2023 season. It was miserable. It was not fun at all. It was hell. But at least we got through it. At least it's over. And what I can say is, and what I will say now is, if I can get through this season, I feel like unless they lose 110 games next year, which very, very well might be possible. I mean, it's only 10 more losses. We've ended 100. So hopefully it can only get better from here. So I don't know. But it's going to be very interesting to see what goes down and what happens. So Justin and Deech, I want to say thank you to both of you guys for coming on here every week as much as possible. And you guys could. Hanging out with me, talking baseball. The SouthSide Boys definitely did help the baseball season here on Tino's Time because before that, it wasn't going very well. So I want to say thank you to you guys. Hopefully we get you back next year on the show. Hopefully we'll be back for another great season of the SouthSide Boys, and hopefully a great season for the White Sox, because White Sox sucked this year, but the SouthSide Boys did pretty good. So, guys, thank you so much. I want to say thank you to the chat and everybody. As I said, guys, we'll be live here tonight for Madden 24 as I try to win a game by just kicking field goals. So we're going to see if that can go down. So, guys, come and hang out in an hour as we go back here live for some Madden 24 gaming. Thank you to Justin and Deech. Guys, have a great offseason. People in the chat, if you only come and hang out for the baseball shows, have a great offseason. And we will see you next year for season 2 of the SouthSide Boys, and hopefully for a better season for the Chicago White Sox.